Not to be dramatic, but I'm obsessed with how much I just saved at Kohl's. I got 25% off Nike clothes for the kids, the cutest $39.99 flex hoodie for me, and got great Columbia gear for all our outdoor adventures. Did I mention the extra 20% off and the Kohl's cash I got? So yeah, not sure what I love more, fall deals or fall weather. Select styles, 20% offer ends October 3rd. Some exclusions apply. See store or kohls.com for details.
10, 9, 8. Ignition sequence has started. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
You have entered Untold Radio AM. And now broadcasting from a secret location, your hosts, Joel Sturgis and Doug Hychak. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this edition of Untold Radio AM. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis. Right along with me is the very near late Doug Hychak.
I wasn't.
I don't mean dead either.
I wasn't late.
Although he keeps being late, he might be the late Doug Hychak.
I wasn't late.
Tonight we got a great show lined up for you guys. He was not late, okay? It was still technically 7, our time, which is Central, so I'll stop busting your chops.
You ever seen a guy sliding on carpeting?
Yes.
I just slid right into my chair.
Did you? You just did the whole risky business slide across.
Exactly like risky business.
Exactly. I would imagine. You look just like Tom Cruise doing it too.
I tipped my hat as I slid in.
Really? Wow. Well, that would be a sight I'd love to see in person. I would pay money to see you do that.
Oh my God. I remember one time I quit smoking and I was in the back, like in the back of the garage, sneaking a cig. You hear the door open in the garage?
Crack. And yeah.
And I slid out. No cigarette.
You're like a magician. You're like a bad habit magician.
Yep.
Well, we got a great guest on tonight. We got Jim Dilettoso on tonight.
Dilettoso.
I'm glad that you fixed that for me right away.
Oh, good.
Dilettoso.
You know what? I love doing that. I love fixing it.
You do, because I do it phonetically, because that's my Midwest coming out.
It's like saying Vinegar instead of vinegar.
True.
I heard Joe Souchere one time. He was reading some notes somebody had sent him, a recipe. And he
said Vinegard instead of vinegar?
Vinegar. And everybody in the studio cracked up.
So it's a Della. You do it again.
Dilettoso.
Let's hear you say
Dilettoso.
Yeah. Dilettoso.
Yes,
there
that's
it is.
right.
Perfect. We got that going on. Well, Jim has been in the UFO field for more than 30 years, and he was one of the investigators for the Phoenix Lights, the Billy Meier case. The guy has been around, and he's one of the pioneers of ufology as far as not only investigating, but also video and photographic analysis of UFOs. So you want to hang around bottom of the hour, we're going to have Jim on, and we could talk about that. A lot to cover in that. That'd be a lot to hang out and talk about there.
Yeah, Jim inspired me to get into forensics, video forensics.
Very cool, man. Very cool. So without Jim, there might not have been a Monster Quest.
Well,
You're not willing to go that far?
But you never know. No, you never know. I mean, it did have an effect on me.
Sure.
Seeing him in front of all his big computers and showing all this equipment that he was using to, enhance videos and bring up videos.
By the way, I don't mean to cut you off, but we're less than a month out now from the year 2 of the Minnesota Bigfoot Conference. That'll be in Grand Rapids.
Yeah, it's October.
First weekend of October. You're going to want to be there. And so the tickets are on sale. You can get those.
I'm just thinking about coming.
Well, you're going to be one of the speakers, Doug. So,
Yeah.
you know.
That doesn't... I could always pull out at the last second. I'm just trying to give Abe.
Are you trying to give Abe anxiety now?
Yeah.
Is that what you want to do? Is make him all nervous whether he'll show
joking,
or not
Abe.
show?
I will be there.
So you want to make sure to get those tickets. You can get them through Facebook. You can contact Abe Del Rio directly. Best way to get those tickets is on Facebook. Search all MNBRT team page. That's where you can get them. The website will be updated. I have not updated the website in a bit, so that'll be updated here shortly. So
it's going to be Dr. Jeff Meldrum.
Yep.
Cliff Rockman from Finding Bigfoot.
Yep.
Russell Accord from Expedition Bigfoot.
Yep.
And myself.
And you, yeah.
Some big shoes to follow.
That's a lot of power right there. That's a lot of good speakers going on right there. It's the whole weekend, so you want to hang out. It's a lot of fun. Last year was a blast, so this year will be no different. It'll be a lot of fun. Get to hang out in Grand Rapids, Minnesota at the Timberlake Lodge. Beautiful lodge, by the way.
Yeah.
I've
I like
never been
Grand
there.
Rapids.
Yeah, I do too. It's a nice little city. It's a nice, well, it's not so little anymore.
Well, you're right. It actually isn't a town. Grand Rapids is a true city. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
surrounded
really
by
grown
forest.
up. Yeah. But I mean, once you're in Grand Rapids, there's nowhere else to go. You know, it's quite a ways away from everything else. So it's a city unto itself.
Oh, Grand Rapids in some ways reminds me of Thompson. Do you know where Thompson, Manitoba is?
I do not know. I've never been to Thompson, Manitoba.
Well, it's named after the explorer Thompson, but I'll never forget. Okay. So I'm flying in. I'm pretty sure it was Thompson. It's way up there. I'm flying into Thompson on a Sidley. It's called the Sidley Hawker.
Mm-hmm.
It's a kind of a World War II airplane.
Sure. So it's barely in the air is what you're saying.
Barely.
And
I remember there was a guy in the flight that was tooting. And I said,
had gas, did he?
It was bad. He was stinking everybody out in the whole place. Anyhow, but we're flying into this town or the city, and it is literally like the Emerald City. And they do a lot of bauxite mining. Do you know what bauxite is?
No, I don't.
Well, it's a mineral.
Okay.
It's used in making things like certain types of iron and certain types of nickel.
Sure. Is it above ground mining or is it below ground?
It's above ground.
Okay, so it's strip mining.
But it caused a lot of the banking industry to settle in Thompson for the whole northern region of Canada. But here's what was cool. You remember Wizard of Oz, the Emerald City? The green, kind of this green glass. And
I do.
I remember flying in and seeing Thompson surrounded by forest. And here were these green skyscrapers. Beautiful.
Wow, it's been beautiful, yeah.
Coming out of the forest.
Man, that's cool.
And I went, oh my God, it's the Emerald City.
Yeah, right. How long were you there?
Oh, just to land, get fuel, and head off up in New York.
Yeah, keep going.
Yeah. I think we landed there maybe to go through customs. No, I was already through customs. I think just to get fuel.
Yeah. Well, that sounds like a lot of fun, barring the guy that's tooting away.
Oh, that was bad. The guy must have been drinking beer all night.
Blats on top of it.
And I remember there was something else I remember. I was sitting with a friend that I had brought up there to help me shoot. Or we were both going to trade off shooting this TV thing we were doing. Anyhow, we were eating butterscotch pudding. And I looked down, and we were over the Arctic. We were up at the Arctic Circle. And I looked at my buddy and I said, "Do you realize we're eating butterscotch pudding over the Arctic?"
With a man with horrible gas?
Well, yeah, with a guy in the back farting.
I mean, just one of those moments.
Anyhow, so then of course, that hit him too. And he's like, yeah, we're eating.
How did we get here moments?
We're eating butterscotch. Well, it's just one of those things you say so you'll remember the moment.
Right? I hear you.
Random, whatever. But
Yeah.
he goes, oh my God, we're eating butterscotch pudding over the Arctic. Right? And so I talked to him not very long ago, and this goes back 20 years. He goes, remember that time you said we were eating butterscotch pudding over the Arctic? And I said, yeah, that was so cool. Anyhow, so then we approach our destination, and I realize there's no runway. And I look back, and the flight attendant started doing the sign of the cross. And then she grabbed my hand and was holding my hand, the flight attendant. And I'm like, what's the deal? She goes, have you ever landed on sand dunes? I said, no, not really. She said, well, we're about to. Hang on. And I look, and we're literally these sand dunes, these wavy sand dunes. You know, I mean, they're not flat. And we're going to land this World War II plane on these sand dunes.
Oh, my God.
And so she's got a death grip on my hand, which is fine. You know, that was fine with me, Joel.
Yeah.
You know, I'll save the day.
The damsel in distress, yeah.
Oh, she was stressed. Anyhow.
Yeah.
So we touch, and then, you know, it's kind of bouncy, like really bouncy. Like if you're not belted in, you'd smack your head on the roof of the plane. And finally that plane came to a dusty halt, and we were fine.
Jeez. Man, what to go through to get the footage, right?
Well, yeah, and taking off was even worse.
Well, I would imagine you had to get speed to take off on the sand dunes.
It was 10 days later. We had to then do the reverse, and anyhow, enough of that. But sometimes things just make a memory, you know, bang into my brain.
That is true. That is true. It's the little things that you remember.
So what did you think of some of the one video? We have to talk about that.
That is strange. I don't know what to make of that.
Did you see the latest one I sent you? And then we'll explain to the audience what I sent. Did you see the last one? Okay, so so I thought, well, maybe there's a slight chance it's a weird camera glitch, right? But there's a rain, you know, when I stopped it, there's a raindrop.
Yeah.
It caught over what would be a camera glitch. Well, that kind of rules out a camera glitch.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because I'm going to watch it and describe it to the audience one more time as I watch it.
Okay.
What's going on here in this footage is basically it's footage of
it's raining.
It's raining out in the undisclosed location
in the forest.
In the forest, yep, and it's raining pretty good. And as you watch the rain, you start to see something in the background.
Well, you see an orb first.
Yeah, you see the orb first. And then
it's big.
You watch it rain. It's a big orb. But then you got to kind of watch in the background for this, whatever it is, to kind of come after the orb. And then you see it. But it's something in the background. You just can't quite make it out. But it's big, whatever it is.
Well, you notice it's even got feet. It's got an arm.
It does.
It's got a torso, and it's got a head and even ears. So it could be all coincident. You know that, what do they call it?
Pareidolia?
Yep. So it could be that. But
could be.
So the coincidence is the orb comes, this thing that looks like a Bigfoot steps out from behind a tree and then vanishes.
And then it takes off. It's no longer in frame at all.
Yeah, it vanishes. It's like maybe 1 second it's on there, but it's moving.
Mm-hmm.
It actually kind of steps away from the tree. And so if I put that up online, that's going to give all of the woo among us. And there's, it's kind of maybe a 50-50 camp, the woo people that think Bigfoot's some interdimensional, and then there's the flesh and blood. That's going to give the woo people power.
It could, yeah. I could see
power.
that.
Oh, God,
I could see that.
It's woo power, Joel.
Yeah, but it's raining. The camera's a fair distance away from the object. You know, what I'm saying is don't get too woo power yet because, you know, we're not sure what we're looking at here.
No, we have no idea. But it isn't a camera glitch because stuff is over it. Even me, who's very flesh and blood kind of guy, gave me pause. Still does.
Yeah. Well, and you've been dealing with cameras since, what, the 70s, right? When did you start shooting
I started shooting in 1975.
So you've seen just about everything a camera can do. Yes. Weird glitches, the weird things it can do. Yep. So you of all people, being really a camera expert yourself, would pick out a glitch almost immediately.
Yeah, and what's interesting about it, let's say it's a glitch of an electronic anomaly that affected the camera. It could have glitched out the AI ahead of it and behind it. So that black furry looking thing could just be a flesh and blood, but let's just say there was electronic interference. It's been reported so many times.
Yeah.
And it glitched. Yeah. Not the object is a glitch, the black object, but the fact it comes quick and disappears quick could be the glitch.
It could be. It very well could be. I'm not really willing to buy the whole portal disappearing Bigfoot. You know, I tend to lean towards more of a flesh and blood creature. You know, I'm not. It would take a whole lot of strange direct evidence to change my mind.
Look, let's say if a creature had the ability to come in and out of portals, do you think it would take a dump? Or shed hair?
Yeah, right.
I don't know.
So
it's confusing. Who knows? But it is interesting. I'm thinking about posting it, but then I'm thinking, oh God, it's gonna open a can of worms.
I don't know. I mean, you could always post it and just not say anything and let the audience.
Well, no, I will, but
come up with their own conclusion.
Yeah. You remember the weird myth stuff I posted?
Yeah.
And that brought a lot of people out of the woodwork.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean.
I know exactly what you mean because I read most of them.
Oh, my goodness.
See, what I like to do when you post something is I like to sit from the bleachers and watch the people interact. And I don't chime in. I don't say anything.
Yeah, I've noticed you've never made a comment on anything.
I like to sit back and just look at the discussion as a whole. Is what I do.
Yeah.
And, you know,
because that explains why everybody loves you.
Well, that could be why. That could be why. I don't know if everyone loves me or not, but yeah.
Mr. Neutral.
I am the Switzerland type, aren't I?
Yeah.
I try not to get too involved in the argument side of things.
Yeah, I'm more of a kind of a Denmarky guy.
Well, there just isn't enough evidence either way to truly make it.
Swiss. I'm Danish.
I do have good cheese and chocolate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did I ever tell you about my weird Switzerland?
No.
Oh my God. I'll save that for another day. It's kind of
you just can't open that up and be like, "I ever told you about my strange Switzerland trip?" And then you leave it.
So I go to Switzerland. I can't find any place to stay. So I stay in this old castle. It's kind of been converted to a hotel, right?
Yeah.
But it was converted like 50 years ago. It was kind of like one of those little cheesy motels, but it's a castle, a real stone castle. And so first thing I do, I check in, and there's this huge St. Bernard parked his butt on my stairway that I have to go on this little windy stairway up like 5 flights up this stone stairway. And he's parked right in the middle. He's a huge dog. And he's right below a glass case of a bunch of World War I swords and hats and knives and, and I pulled out my camera to take a picture of this glass case, and the dog attacked me.
No.
Oh, yeah? What do you mean, no?
Why would... Jeez.
I've got a photo and a photo of the dog right before he attacked me.
St. Bernards are supposed to be nice, gentle giants.
That dog was guarding that case. I had no idea. So anyhow, so I run up to my thing, and I'm up there, and I'm afraid to come back out, right? So I'm hungry, so I come down, and I like tiptoe by the dog. It's still there.
By the dog.
And I didn't take my camera out because I knew that's what set him off, right?
Yeah.
So I go out, and of course, right out of American Werewolf in London, it is thick fog, just thick fog.
Yeah. Stay on the road, Doug. Stay on the road.
And I don't speak German, and I can't, talk to these, the people. I have no idea. So I just start walking. But the fog is getting thicker and thicker and thicker. Finally, I see a little light, whatever, and I think I'm praying it's a restaurant. It's not. I keep walking. Finally come to this, what I think is a restaurant. It is.
The slaughtered lamb.
Yeah, but it's now like kind of late. It's 8, 9 o'clock. And I have not seen one soul. And so I go in this thing and I order. There's a hamburger on the menu. And I order it, right?
Yeah.
I point to it and I order it. And out comes this big raw red pork meatball with a fried egg on top. And it didn't even look like it was cooked pork. It was still bleeding.
So the egg was cooked, but the pork was not.
Barely cooked. And the pork, this thing was probably 4 inches in diameter.
That's
with a fried egg on top. And of course, I'm not eating this. I didn't eat.
No.
It's got blood oozing out of it. And it's pork. And I'm like, okay. So anyhow, I pay my bill and I get out of there. I can't find my way back to the castle.
No.
Because I have no idea where I am. It's just thick. I don't have a flashlight. And so I finally get my way back. I tiptoe past the St. Bernard. He doesn't attack.
The gatekeeper.
He doesn't even look at me. This dog just got done attacking me. Now he doesn't even look at me.
Doesn't even acknowledge your presence.
Doesn't acknowledge I'm there. So I'm like, okay, I got it figured out. Don't take a picture of the case. So go back up. In the middle of the night, I'm awoken by the dog barking, growling. I'm like, what the frick's going on? And so I open the window, or the sash on the window, and I remember I'm sure I'm 5 stories up in this castle. I've never even seen another guest. So it's creepy.
So this whole time...
this is creepy.
Other than when you checked in, which I'm sure you dealt with people when you checked in.
I dealt with somebody. I don't remember who they were. As far as
you have not seen another person.
Not yet.
Other than a rabid dog.
One waitress that waited on me at the weird restaurant.
Slaughtered lamb.
Pork ball. Okay. So then I open the window and I look out and I can hear the dog growling, and I'm looking, and the dog has got a guy with a uniform on pinned against the wall. He's pinned, and the dog has got him at bay. The St. Bernard that attacked me.
Yeah.
And there's a whole bunch of people gathered around, like in a semicircle watching this. But it's got to be 4 a.m. Maybe it's 5. I don't know. It's pitch black.
Yeah.
It's still foggy on the ground,
Yeah.
Looking at this, and then I go to bed. Go back to bed. I don't remember even going back to bed. It was just weird. Anyhow.
Did you see anyone the following morning?
No. I just tiptoed past that dog. Got the hell out of Switzerland. That was all I saw of Switzerland.
That is a strange story. So you go in this castle that's been converted to a hotel.
Yep.
With Cujo there, that's watching over some type of strange World War I vault of whatever stuff that's there. And so you're in there, and you decide to get something to eat, and of course, you meet those people. But the whole time while you're in the castle, the only time you see another living soul is when the dog is got the man in uniform at bay and people
Yeah.
are standing around in a semicircle. And then you go back to
They're
bed.
just watching. Yeah, I don't even know how it resolves.
Think it was haunt. I think they're
I don't
ghosts.
remember how it resolved. But that's the kind of crap that happens to you in Europe. If you wander off, because I never went anywhere where tourists went.
Yeah.
I mean, like for instance, the nearest town was Zurich, but I went way off into the country. I didn't want to be in a city.
You don't want to be with the tourists.
But
you
that,
want to
I
get the
swear to
real
God,
feel of the city.
That's all I saw of Switzerland. That was it. I just wanted out. I loved Austria, but I did not like Switzerland for some.
Really? Do you think that what you were witnessing were ghosts?
I don't know.
Ooh.
I don't know.
Ooh.
I have no memory of how it resolved.
Yeah.
Did the dog finally get chased away by people? But they weren't helping him.
Sure. That is odd, Doug.
But what the heck were that many people doing out there at 4 a.m?
I don't know. That's even odder. Why would they be out at 4 a.m? Odd.
I don't know.
Odd.
But anyhow, the good news is we're probably going to be posting very soon, doing the shakeout today. Adam figured out using Linux code and all sorts of things on how to get the first artificial intelligence driven cameras on YouTube. It'll be a historic first.
Really?
Yep. It's coming soon.
Well, that'll be cool.
Yep.
That'll be really cool.
Anyhow, I wanted to announce that.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Oh,
that is a big deal.
The other thing I was going to mention, I keep forgetting. The camera glitch, the black mass or the Bigfoot, whatever it was. The black mass that looks just like a Bigfoot with arms, shoulders, head, ears, feet. Blah. There is an AI box that captured that. I found the frame with the AI box around it.
Really?
Yeah. So it drew it, and I even took a still grab for you.
So are you gonna obviously you're gonna further analyze this stuff? You're gonna run through its paces, this footage, right, and see what the hell's going on.
I mean, I already have kind of.
See what the deal is there.
Yeah, it's just super weird. So whatever.
It's super weird.
And then I sent you that video of the squid things up.
Oh yeah, I saw that in the sky.
Okay, then I went ahead and I sent it to another guy, and he did the same thing I did. We were looking for squid kites.
Yeah.
Come to find out, there are these amazing giant black squid kites, and they guarantee
you can get. Yeah.
But
So it very well could have been that.
I think it was because it matches exactly.
They were pretty perfect.
Yeah, it was weird though. If that would have been real and not a hoax, that would have been amazing.
That would have been amazing because it's. I mean, it looked pretty legit, but like you said, I was thinking it had to have been something there as well. I mean, it was as crazy as it looked.
Well, so
it
here's
was too perfect.
Here's what's interesting. So I estimated these things were at minimum 20 to 30 feet. And those giant squid kites are about that.
Yeah. More likely some kids are playing or some people were flying some kites or what have you.
Hundreds of dollars. I don't think it was kids, but...
No, some hobbyist.
Yep.
That's, that had some money to spend that loves kites was probably out there flying the squid kites. But they did look strange, though.
Yeah.
If I saw them up in the air myself without knowing or even thinking about the kite aspect,
I'd
be looking strange.
That guy was cussing. If you're gonna hoax a UFO video, make sure you cuss a lot.
Yeah, right.
Guys like me at least think, oh, the audio sounds real.
Yeah. At least he's swearing, so
Yeah, he's shocked. He's in shock. He's excited.
Yeah.
He's freaked out. But sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I see these hoax videos sometimes, and there's like no audio.
And they're perfectly shot, and that they're a hoax. I see a lot of ghost ones. People send me ghost videos, and they try to get ones past me once in a while, and it's like, no, that's not real. That's not real at all.
Are we 1 minute from getting
We are.
our guest on?
We're 30 seconds, actually.
That was the quickest half hour.
That was a very quick half hour. Look at us go. I suppose let's get out of here. We're going to get Jim on. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Socks are the #1 most requested item at homeless shelters. Underwear second, and shirts are third. At Bombas, socks were first, made with comfortable details for everyday wearing. Then underwear, and shirts too, all designed to perfectly fit. At Bombas, every item you purchase means you're donating an essential clothing item to someone in need. One comfortable clothing item for you, one donated to someone in need. Bombas, comfort for all. Get 20% off your purchase at bombas.com/comfy.
Not to be dramatic, but I'm obsessed with how much I just saved at Kohl's. I got 25% off Nike clothes for the kids, the cutest $39.99 flex hoodie for me, and got great Columbia gear for all our outdoor adventures. Did I mention the extra 20% off and the Kohl's cash I got? So yeah, not sure what I love more, fall deals or fall weather. Select styles, 20% offer ends October 3rd. Some exclusions apply. See store or Kohls.com for details.
As soon as I cue up the old audio to lead us out of here, we'll be right back right after this.
Hi, Tom Bodette. If you can hear me, then you have an internet connection, which means you can do cool things online, like listen to streaming radio, obviously, or watch a video of a monkey washing a cat. Let your freak flag fly. Or you can book a room at a great price at Motel6.com. Isn't the internet wonderful? Everything you want right at your fingertips, and whoa, did not need to see that. I'm Tom Bodette for Motel 6, and we'll leave the light on for you.
Unexpected reactions to smart financial decisions brought to you by feedthepig.org.
Well, I finally did it. My student loan is totally paid off.
I can't believe it.
I can't believe it either. I paid more than the minimum each month, and soon enough, it was gone.
So you're just giving up?
Giving up on what?
The life of luxury. Egyptian cotton, caviar Thursdays, designer everything.
What are you talking about?
Our plan. What happened to winning the lottery and mastering the art of the perfect mimosa? Hosting galas, wearing enough jewelry to require a bodyguard, vacationing in the French Riviera, and then buying it.
I just thought maybe it was time to prepare for my future. You know, set some financial goals, make some smart investments, open a 401k.
Financial goals? Investments? A 401k? You are horrifying right now. Listen, if winning the lottery were easy, everyone would do it.
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind. Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Northern Tool and Equipment.
So me and the boys head out to tailgate today and find some other fans in our spot.
Well, it happens.
Cheering for the wrong team.
Oh, this is war.
Even worse, they've got this couch set up and everything.
A couch?
Yeah, it's sectional.
All right, first thing, don't ever use the word sectional again.
Done.
Second, I want you to grab a 4,700-pound tow chain with J-hook and grab hammer. Throw that on the back of your truck.
Got it.
Now you're going to Hail Mary the J-hook over the end of that couch. Time to find a better spot for your new friends.
That should do it.
There's no problem a little horsepower can't solve. Northern Tool and Equipment.
Taking a family of 5 to the amusement park can cost a small fortune.
Oh, yeah. So to save some money, we thought, hey, let's bring the amusement park to us.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right. Step right up, young man. Are you ready to ride the wacky waterfall?
That's just the bathtub with the shower head running.
Nope, it's the wacky waterfall.
It's the shower, Dad.
Waterfall.
Wacky.
There's an easier way to save. To get a free rate quote, go to geico.com. Then buy online, over the phone, or at your local Geico office.
Green light. Hey girl, school zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin Street? Girlin Street!
It's hard to concentrate on two things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstopwrecks.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
And welcome back to Untold Radio AM. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis. Right along with me is Mr. Doug Highcheck. I am frantically trying to do some radio magic in the background, Doug. I really am. You know that, right?
Yeah, sometimes, it's probably it's my biggest fear that you can't get a hold of a guest.
Yeah, and that does happen once in a while, once in a blue moon. Jim, if you're listening, we are trying to get a hold of you, trying to add you in. And if you want to kindly pick up, that'd be great. In the meantime, I will continue to try to add Mr. Jim Dilettoso until we get him, because I really want to talk to him.
We'll get him.
So what's your strangest story, Doug? Come on.
Well,
you're like, nothing like being put on the spot here, right?
Hang on a second. Got all sorts of stuff.
Jim.
Oh, hey, Jim. Oh, look at that, Doug. You're saved by the bell. Look at that. Jim, this is Joel and Doug over here.
Hey, good to see from you. Are we soon, or I thought it was 6:30 my time, but now it's okay.
Yep, we are live right now, and yeah. Does that cause a conflict to your schedule?
No, I make up my schedule, and I'm loving talking to you. Do I get to interview you next?
Oh, maybe, if you want to. We're always open to be doing that. But
I read your resumes, and it seems like I should be interviewing you.
You're too kind.
Excellent things.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you, Jim. That means a lot.
First of all, how's the audio? Because I haven't even set up my headset and microphone yet, so it's the mic and the camera built into the laptop. How's this?
Sure, you sound great, Jim. You sound really, really good. You're coming through nice and loud and clear for our audience. And so we're really looking forward to speaking to you tonight.
Okay. Well,
you're such a fascinating guy, and I remember following your work throughout the years too. So I'm really excited to speak with you tonight. But what I'll do is let's do a quick intro, though. We just can't jump into it.
Oh yeah, okay.
We got to talk about this a little bit. Jim Dilettoso is best known. He's one of the best known figures in UFO and exotic science research. For over 30 years, he has been recognized as one of the leading analysts of UFO pictures and videos. He has tested over 2,000 photographs, over 400 video cases. He has appeared on many TV broadcasts, including Sightings, Discovery Channel, A&E, Disney, MTV, CNN, UFO Hunters, and the BBC. He is also well known in the UFO community for being one of the lead researchers, the researcher of the infamous Phoenix Lights, the Billy Meier case, and the Mexico City UFO. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce Jim Dilettoso to the show. Jim, I'm so excited to have you.
Great. Thank you for having me, myself, and I here. So are we audio only, or do we have camera too?
We are an audio only show. This is going to be, of course, we're broadcasting live right now via FM, but then we also podcast this for all the folks that want to download it and listen to it at a later date.
Okay. So I should turn on just a light or two.
You could if you wanted to. It's not necessary because we're audio only.
Well, in that case, I'll just buff up my voice, and here we go.
There we go. That's all you need to do is put on the old sexy pipes, and we got her made.
Okay. Very good.
Jim, how long have you been in the field? It says here 30 years, but when did the interest begin?
November 1976. It interested me by people came to me when I was snowbirding in Phoenix, and people in the movie business, because I was in the concert touring business. In the winter, I would rent out my lights and generators.
Okay.
And I met this guy who was a local production manager, and he knew that I had been working on the Shroud of Turin project that winter, the one hosted, narrated by Richard Burton, produced by...
I remember that, yeah.
And my job was interfacing some of the test equipment to film, to match the resolution highest possible of the film, and make that happen. So worked on that for about a month and then came here to Winter. So that man, John Stefanelli, asked me if I had ever tested other claims of the paranormal and would I be interested in meeting some people who did that. So I made an arrangement, and we met a few days later with Jim Lorenzen, his wife Coral Lorenzen, who ran a group in Tucson called APRO, Aerial Phenomena Research Organization, one of the stalwarts, the MUFON of the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s.
Sure.
And Wendell Stevens they brought with them, and they showed me some pictures, 40 pictures, that they wanted me to test. So I said, okay, next year. And I made arrangements to spend that year and get ready to test pictures the following year, because I do it precisely. And so that's how I got involved. Some people asked me to test pictures, and then out of that came the Billy Meier case and testing that. And my business was equipment, audio and video equipment. I put together lots of equipment in road cases and rented it out to people.
Okay.
Rock and roll bands, mining companies, movie companies. Lights and sound are us. That's why I liked Joel's experiences with an Airy. Now that's a Canon. You know, that's the 50 caliber 35 millimeter movie camera for people at home listening that don't know about Doug and his history with the Aeroflex camera. I know it from having to reload a BL and an Eclair, NPR, etc. So I have a great admiration and respect for what I read about what you have done. Therefore, I can speak geek to you partially about analyzing pictures. So I started testing pictures that winter and accelerated it into getting involved with the manufacturers of a certain equipment and going to high-end places that used said equipment and see if they would could be talked into analyzing ghost pictures, claims of the paranormal, and UFO pictures. By that time,
that is so cool.
78. So that was 76, 77, 78. 3 months at a time every winter.
Did you ever see any, and we're going to get into this, of course, but when it comes to the pictures of the paranormal, I would imagine there were some that just were legitimate articles, right? I mean, you know, in your opinion, I mean, you know, your professional opinion, hopefully there's been some.
At the beginning, I was a rookie. You know, I call myself, we were power rookies. A lot of good equipment, but it took us a few years to have seen a lot of things, and then years to pile on knowledge base to compare it to. But I've seen a lot of things that I could not explain, like explaining that this is a fingerprint of this guy because we matched it to fingerprints in our database. And that's what we did, is I built a large database of knowns. Scale model cars, big cars. Scale model airplanes, big airplanes. Edges, contour, color, motion, moving the object, moving the camera. Those are all different. And lights in the sky, headlights, car lights, and built a database of known objects. And then I would use the same indexing system to analyze, to record, capture, index, store, numeric, the metrics of unknown pictures, and see if I could get a match in the database. If I didn't get a match, it's...
So if the no match means further analysis is needed.
Means a further analysis is needed. I'll go to other experts. I'd analyze, I'd compare the unknowns to each other, so that over the years I was more interested in the ones that, of course, did not fit into the database, and studying their characteristics, their flight characteristics, because separate of the photographs are witnesses who said what they saw. So that became important as the years went on for me to go when appropriate, when possible, because I was in the touring business, so I was in a different city or a different state every day.
Yeah.
25 years. So I went a lot of places, talked to witnesses, other investigators. Most all the analysis I did was for other investigators.
Gotcha. And meanwhile, you're still working, basically a 9 to 5 job, basically doing your touring business and finding time to do this analyzing on the side, I would assume.
Yeah, a general description. That's correct. I had a lot of really good people working for me, with me, as the years went on, and I added image processing equipment and then a supercomputer service bureau for 10 years. I rented out time on a supercomputer. My clients, my customers were extreme experts also in various things, from image analysis to image processing to scale models and compositing and flame and inferno and overlays, etc. So it became something that a lot of my friends and associates knew that we worked on, and I could call them and send them stuff this is 20 years, and then 10 years, and then 5 years before the internet.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until the 90s.
I love online shopping. I probably do too much of it, but then when you find really good deals with brands you actually like, I can feel comfortable about this decision. I'm not like hiding the orders when they come in from Prusy.com. Jake knows all about it. He got some shirts and stuff. Prusy.com, they're a local site. They have great deals on famous brands. Like I got a sports bra and some leggings from Reebok. They have Nike, Adidas, Under Armour. Try it out for yourself and get a little extra discount with KDWB. That's the code. You get 20% off site-wide at Prusy.com. That's PROOZY.com.
BMO Harris is where you are with banking tools you need where you need them, like fast Zelle transfers.
Who had the 3 cheese omelet? Mine was 5 cheese. Okay, then you owe $11.72. I also had a side of bacon.
So then make that $15.39.
I have a mimosa on the way.
Okay.
With BMO Harris, you can split bills easily using Zelle once you finally figure out who owes what. When your bank is where you are. That's the BMO effect.
And then later in 2000, when I could actually send other images to others for them to take a look at, and of course have to agree upon the criteria of what meant something was a large or a small object. How do we analyze the lights? And a lot of people didn't understand any of the terminology at the time.
Sure.
Spectrum analysis, spectral analysis, histogram, color spectrum analysis became the basis for a lot of misunderstandings, particularly with the press and mean-spirited investigators who just want to prove that everything is a hoax or is wrong or is not as theorized.
Yeah.
You got to deal with all those too. So it became really a full-time job of how it gets into your consciousness. Like, you guys don't set this aside when you're not on the air. You're thinking about it. You're talking to other people about it. You're trying to figure out what is and what isn't, because the elements of this that are true are extremely important to humanity. The ones that are fake or a mistake are really important to know the difference.
I agree. That's just as important to know the fakes as is the reality of it, because otherwise you'll fall for the fakes.
Yeah, you'll fall for it. And these days, more and more and more people fall for it.
Yeah. Yep.
Fall for concepts in addition to individual cases.
Yep. Yeah. And technology has come so far in hoaxing too, that you always have to be on the other end of it, be in front of that technology so you know you're learned in what not to fall for.
Yes. So over the years, I've looked at lots and lots of images and shared them with other people to analyze, most of the time for the benefit of other investigators.
Mm-hmm.
And then they would publish it or not, or talk about it or not. My inclination was not to talk about or publicize or do public reports on our findings. That wasn't what we did or do.
So you were the third-party fact checker for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Is in a very oversimplified way.
Yeah. I go for that. In the fact bringer.
Yeah, they would gather their evidence and then give it to you for analysis to see if it held water or not.
And I would go to others, starting with other people that were expert users or expert engineers in cameras and optics and film and sensors, and that's what we're comparing to. This person is using a camera, taking 35 millimeter slides or negatives or pictures using a camera. Is it a reflection? Is it a mistake? Is it overlaid? Analyzing the film, analyzing the grain out in the sprockets. If you're overlaying images, the grain is going to have two sets of grains in the image area, but not in the sprocket area.
Gotcha.
So it took to analyzing the sprocket area, the grain and the film patterns, not really revealing that to others as part of our mechanism for getting at hoaxes.
Yeah, you don't want to let your trick of the trade out.
Yeah, and there's a lot of consideration about how busy do we want to get in smoking out a hoax.
Yeah.
Is that the job? I mean, who made us in charge of that?
Sure.
We test these pictures. We say, yes, this is most likely a hoax. We have no evidence of a hoax. If we know for sure it's a hoax, then we'll pass it on to said investigator that we believe this is a hoax, and here's how they did it.
Yeah. And then what they did with that information was up to them, the investigator.
Yeah. Yes, it's up to them.
Well, that's just amazing stuff, right, Doug?
Yeah. Hey, Jim. This is Doug Hychek.
Hi.
I've got a question. I've read in your bio that you're engaged in technology in electro-acoustic stimulation of plants.
Yes.
What in the world? I mean, maybe I have a handle on it because obviously we've all heard about playing music to plants and getting them to grow. So why don't you go ahead and tell us more about that?
Well, when we're dealing with sound and the precision audio that a band is trying to deliver in a coliseum, big and loud, there's a lot of analysis of frequency and wave shape and wave patterns and the precision analysis of signals. Meanwhile, over in imagery, we're analyzing signals, frequency, wavelength, just in a different bandwidth. So my expertise and interest is in signal processing and signal analysis, whether it's for medical or mining or rock and roll. So over the years, I became involved in the winter with a number of different things: underground pictures in the mining industry, photographing, videotaping, analysis of tribes and their planting ceremonies, lighting on movies, generators for construction projects, etc. A whole slew of stuff. And one of the things that I got involved with was going to visit a commune in Scotland called Findhorn in 1979, and using a Beaulieu 8mm movie camera. Also had a Bolex Keywind 16mm movie film camera with me. That's what we had at the time. And we went to Findhorn and got there about 2 a.m. Went there with a band that I was working with. their friends, and or just at dawn, this drums and rattles and dancing, hey, dancing, and scantily clad men and women come dancing past the window of the clubhouse out to the field. So whip out the camera, open the f-stop all the way because it's just starting to get light, and had a mag stripe for audio. That was the big thing on this camera. I could record audio also. So shot about 3 minutes of this ceremony in film. Took it home and doing stuff months later. And I had this ceremony and a ceremony of a tribe in Ethiopia called the Dogon tribe, and some footage from people in Australia, the Adelaides. And I was editing that together to do an opening. My idea was I could edit these ceremonies and project them on the big screen to open the next Moody Blues tour. And that would be big images, and here's the ceremony, and then the lights would dim up, and the band would come out. That was my plan. So I'm editing that in my house, and the film, and I began to notice, this is in January, winter, beginning to notice ivy come growing through the cracks in the walls in my house and filling up the walls in my living room in January. Didn't put it together for weeks. The sounds of this planting ceremony, these were all, two out of three of these were planting ceremonies. Took me a while to put it together. Wait a minute, that's me. Am I doing that to these plants to get them to come in? And over a period of a few months and doing more reading and more study, I began to get more footage of planting ceremonies, and analyzing those and testing them at my house, and doing things, the audio of that. And this guy became interested in what I was doing. Didn't know of him before. His name was Christopher Bird. He was the author of a book called The Secret Life of Plants. And he came to visit me in Arizona and wanted to see, with my round speaker cabinets that I was one of the two inventors of, that we were using these round speaker cabinets, not just for music, but out in the garden, and it was making the plants flourish. Thus began a multi-year study of tribes that were doing planting ceremonies, growing big fruits and vegetables in terrible soil, and had a planting ceremony. As the years went on, I studied the importance of different wave shapes and different frequencies, and that the thunder and birds and bugs were the basis for the whistles and rattles and drums that these tribes were using. And I began a long process of researching that and then putting lightning in a bottle. And now it's years later, and we've done thousands of acres in Indonesia and Arizona and Iowa and Nebraska of corn and ginger, and treating plants with specific frequencies and wave shapes that stimulate the ATP, adenosine triphosphate, the little tiny chemical reactions that happen in plants to make them grow. So that's my whole thing. That's the main thing I do every day. Work with
cool.
Bureau of Land Management and Emergency Agriculture to whip this up in big cement mixers in giant sky crane helicopters to spray and keep the dirt down after a forest fire, grow food after a flood, hold the dirt down. Meanwhile, different of emergency agriculture, we've done half a dozen big vineyards, some of which are on television. CNN did a big story about it. Charlie Rose did a big story about one of our installations in Italy. So that's my main passion these days, is the frequencies and the repeatable patterns and how to mount them on drones and helicopters and backpacks and get it into the fields.
Sure. That's amazing.
I can make the answer. I apologize, Doug. I have much longer answers available.
Well, so are you actually playing sounds that we could hear to plants?
There's two. The sounds that affect plants in nature are not notes on the Western scale. They are notes that are terrible when played loud. Sounds like a fax machine on crack gone wild.
Oh no!
So
yeah, like old modem.
So Jim, we're actually hearing a weird tone. There, it quit. Were you hearing it too, Joel?
Yeah, I was.
And that's gone now. So anyhow, okay. So
we have written original music and recorded it kind of like tribal trance music along with the sounds with some known New Age people and a couple guys from the Tubes and a couple guys from the Moody Blues and other friends of mine that I do other stuff with. Meanwhile, we've done original music with various friends and known and unknowns that is kind of like elevator music for gardens.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's put well. Did you ever hear about, I'm sure you're aware of the director. His name is De Palma, I believe.
Yeah.
Did a couple of horror movies, but his brother.
Brian De Palma's brother, Bruce.
Okay, so do you know him by chance, Brian?
Yeah, I know Bruce, the brother. I never met Brian, the filmmaker.
Okay, so you know Bruce.
I know Bruce. The brother, Brian's film Phantom of the Paradise was one of my favorite.
Yeah, okay. Movies. But I want to ask you a question about some research Bruce was doing.
Yeah.
Because he was kind of an outside scientist like yourself, but he had built a garden box.
Yes.
And he planted grass seed, I believe, or some type of plant. Then he put a turntable above it, so the plant couldn't be affected by the turntable. And then he put grow lights in it, but the turntable was moving and spinning above it, and the plants started to get a swirl in them, which meant he was changing gravity or something. Can you expound on that a little bit more?
Yeah, I visited him in Santa Barbara a couple times in the late 70s, and he was working on an energy device called the N machine that took neutrinos out of the air, then converted them like wind turbines convert things. And he's working on that, and he had other things that he was working on too that were in motion like that. And we talked about a Swiss guy named Hans Jenny, who died in the 70s, was peaking, Hansjeny, and he developed the science of cymatics, Cymatics, and even .com today of people that study his work. And Bruce was replicating the work of Hans Jenny, showing that certain audio patterns and certain magnetic field patterns generated.
Not to be dramatic, but I'm obsessed with how much I just saved at Kohl's. I got 25% off Nike clothes for the kids, the cutest $39.99 flex hoodie for me, and got great Columbia gear for all our outdoor adventures. Did I mention the extra 20% off and the Kohl's cash I got? So yeah, not sure what I love more, fall deals or fall weather. Select styles, 20% offer ends October 3rd. Some exclusions apply. See store or Kohls.com for details.
DoorDash helps you make cash fast. All you need is your bike and a smartphone. The sign-up process is super quick and easy. Now, you get to choose your own hours and be your own boss. And best of all, you get to keep 100% of your tips. Download the DoorDash driver app today to get started.
Images that could be photographed that were coincidentally patterns in nature. For example, Om, if chanted and recorded and played back through a speaker turned on its side, that had a silk stocking stretched over the throat and baby powder sprinkled on it, that you play that sound through the speaker like that, and the pattern that it would make, and you could photograph, was like what's called a yantra, which is a shape a geometric shape or a pattern, like a mandala. And the mandala for Ohm is made from the sound, 3,000 years old.
Jeez.
Well, some of the other work, and it's fantastic, and it's on the Cymatics website, is that the sound of the ocean and wind makes a nautilus seashell. Now, nautilus, Fibonacci's golden mean pattern, and that there is a direct interoperability between magnetic fields, audio patterns, and light patterns and shapes that, when intersected, when you intersect light and sound waves, it makes a hokey pokey go on. It's like you get the right shape for a piece of wood, it makes a wing and will lift up the airplane. So
Gotcha.
Bruce and I, the times that we were visited, were both studying the work of Hans Jenny, and the turntable that you are describing would actually have been playing a sound, but not for the ears, but for a speaker that the plants could hear.
Okay.
You got to remember, Jim, I read this report back in the 90s.
Yeah.
I still remember it because it had an impact on me. Some of the work Bruce was doing.
Yeah, Bruce was fantastic. Yeah.
So you're into that whole science of plants and sound, and I would imagine you've studied ancient cultures and the technology that they had with sound, and like was it Stonehenge? No doubt they're saying was some type of an amphitheater for bouncing.
I've seen the work of others, Bristol University and Glastonbury, that have been playing sounds in Stonehenge and then recording them and measuring the resonance and the reverberation and what else that might do and how strange it is. It's interesting, though, that only certain kinds of people are interested in that.
Yeah. Have you kind of taken up maybe the questions of, can sound cure cancer, diseases? Do they help UFOs fly? Things like that. I mean, these questions that you're thinking about.
Yeah, and my partner, Kalinda McLean, and I work with Linda Blackner, and collectively we study those things for a long time, more than 20, 30 years as a group.
Wow.
Of course, individually, we've all been interested in that. Not that you set out to study it, they study more than I do. I'm more of the hands-on practical thing. Show me some things, show me some research that people are doing, and I'll see if I can build one of those gadgets.
Right.
Yeah. You're the vision guy, the guy that actually builds it, works with his hands to make it a reality.
Have you ever experimented with infrasound, Jim?
No, I like the word though. Infrasound.
Yeah. Which is the low frequencies that we cannot hear.
I have done work with that in the Schumann resonance area, and I became involved for a couple years in E-field work of low frequency ELF waves that others have written about and used. And for a while, for about 10 years in the 80s, I was partners in a company that made radionics equipment. It's a type of medical equipment that directly affects the chromium and iron in the blood and does things, measurements and treatments.
Well, like look at ultrasound. That's nothing more than sound imaging.
Yeah, that does everything from brush your teeth to get cancer medicine in the cells better, and that's a big portion of our work, is studying the things that ultrasound will do, such as stimulate certain microbes to eat limestone and then poop superstructures that make the cement much harder, for example.
Do you think we're only
radio?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, do you think we're only scratching the surface of ultrasound? I mean, it just seems like there's a lot more applications it could be used for then.
There is. There's a lot of applications. In fact, I think we run across, maybe 10 to 20 new applications now a week. I'll give you an example of research work. Back in the 80s, when we were working on, let's go to the 90s when you could look up things on the internet. Late 90s, used the word sonication, and how many scientific papers were written about sonication. There was under 100 in the 90s. Now, I believe that the number just about a month ago was about 90,000.
Jeez.
90,000 references to sonication in plants and human tissue, and making cement harder, and in making probiotics in the gut flourish better, and a number of other things.
You know, this is going to sound really strange, and maybe I'm way off base, but is that why music can heal?
I would say absolutely. And in fact, Edgar Casey was one of the early pioneers to say that sound would be the medicine later on in the 21st century. So it may be that in the next 2 to 5 to 10 years, it'll be a standard thing, like going to the chiropractor, go to the sonication engineer.
Super interesting.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be something?
So we've already burned up half
hour? 40 minutes.
Okay, we're not as bad as I thought. But I want to switch gears to UFOs.
Okay.
So did you ever talk to Billy Meier and know Billy Meier? And maybe you should just quickly explain who he was.
Well, Billy Meier is still alive, and he was a Swiss citizen that was a runaway, joined the French Foreign Legion when he was young, and started when he was in his 20s having contact with extraterrestrial spacecraft when he was in the French Foreign Legion, and that made him kind of an outsider when he would even talk to just a few people. So he took off and was in a bus accident when he was trying to hide out, and lost his arm at the shoulder. So taking photographs years later was a bit of a handicap because he had an arm and a stub. And he in his 30s, approximately, joined a meditation group in Switzerland run by Rudolf Steiner organization. And he learned about the philosophies of Theosophy and Rudolf Steiner, and how there were beings the Theosophists referred as angels that were regularly in contact with certain humans. And there was a lot of philosophy that went along with that, and inevitably, to keep his story palatable and short, he developed a telepathic contact with an angelic extraterrestrial group that eventually told him where to go out in the Swiss countryside, and they would meet him, that they had selected him and to begin having contact with, and that thus began a 30-year series of private visitations that he had with people that let him go take photographs of the ship, take him places, gave him metal samples of their technology and their craft, which the group that I was involved with investigating the case got some of those metal samples to analyze, took them to famous people to analyze. Well, famous in the metallurgic sciences, including Marcel Vogel, who was known at IBM, and he's taken hundreds and hundreds of photographs. And we, in our deliberate high-level testing, found no evidence of a hoax, not one thing. There were there are a couple of mean-spirited people that have made it their career to discredit the Billy Meier case. And on the other hand, there are zealots that overstate the Billy Meier case, making it borderline unbelievable even more. So it's a controversial circumstance. There's a few good documentaries about it. One's called Contact, made in the 80s. One of the very excited spokesman, a guy named Michael Horn, made, I don't know Michael, I've talked to him on the phone, made a documentary a few years ago called And Yet They Fly, that he interviewed a lot of the people that have seen the craft, seen the lights, spent time with Billy and believe him, but it's become kind of a sequestered group in Switzerland that has their own beliefs and their own contacts. I did one thing. I tested 4 pictures that were copy negatives, where Billy Meier let Wendell Stevens, Lee and Britt Elders, and Tom Welch accompany him to a laser scanning facility in Zurich. And before it was fashionable, using Agfa Gavarit equipment in the late 70s, used one of the first ever laser scanners to make a 2¼ inch copy negative off of a 35 millimeter negative. There were also 2 slides. We called them diapositives, and slide film that he had taken, and we analyzed those and took them around to many other people to analyze, and determined that they are indeed 21.5 feet in diameter and were at various distances away from the camera. We used precision ways of analyzing the edges and the contour and comparing it to fence posts and trees and the horizon and things. How big and far away it is, without fail, every time. The same software that the cruise missile uses and used in medical and defense propositions in order to know mission critical information. And that is what we used to analyze the Billy Meier case and other pictures.
Yeah, because one of his pictures is, what's it called? A photograph of a beam ship floating beside a tree, right? Is that famous one where it's the real metallic, almost the 1950s-esque UFO next to a pine tree. And that one was always, I've looked at it several times. Of course, I'm not learned like you are. I don't have your skill sets. But right away, it's almost too perfect, in my own mind. But
with you, it looks funky.
It does. It looks.
I know. I'm going, no, this is a small model hanging or superimposed or whatever, and I'm going to get this guy. I don't usually put emotion into it if I'm going to get this guy. But when it's something like this, and we were in the case for years, and people saying we made a mistake, we were stupid, we were con men, hey, we were none of that. And I don't like being called names. So we go at it healthier and harder. So we tested it more, and it was the top of the beam ship. We had other photographs of a much larger object that 3-foot diameter thing flies away from the main body and is a imaging scout ship, like a drone helicopter could be released from an airplane or another helicopter and go fly away and go do stuff and come back and dock. So that's what that is, that little one, the birthday cake image, as it was called. And the scale model allegations are true. You want to know why we know that? We were the group that hired a famous special effects model miniature company in Hollywood, Film Effects of Hollywood, Linwood Dunn and Wally Gentleman, to make a scale model. And then with their precision, they made it, and Lee Elders and Wendell cased it up, took it to Switzerland, took it out, hung it on a fish line, and had Billy and everybody else take pictures of it. Then brought those pictures back to our lab, didn't tell me that it was a scale model. Had the cameras running in the Claire, NPR, by the way, for those of you interested. They were making a documentary film about the analysis of what we were doing. And I knew within a couple minutes, because of the contour, that that was a small object. But I said, you know, I don't want to give my full report right now. Let everybody take a break. We'll do the rest of this in the morning, which was when I told Lee and Britt and Wendell, I said, you know, this is a small object. This is like a 2-foot thing. And they were like, yay, Jim! Where I thought I needed to talk to them privately because I was going to ruin their movie. Because I had found the hoax.
Yep.
Said, yeah. When the camera crew comes back tomorrow, tell them that. Tell them that. And in fact, they showed me, they transferred from film, they shot it in film when they were in Switzerland. So they showed me on a 3/4-inch U-matic video, and I had a deck like that, play back it being made and taken to Switzerland, hung on a fishing line pole and photographed and then brought back to me. So they showed me that after I had explained what my analysis showed of it being a scale model. So point is that the big ship was really thrilling. I mean, I felt like I was like we were, you know, like the Blues Brothers. We were on a mission from God to analyze these pictures.
See, Jim, we're getting some kind of weird feedback. Can you just move a little bit, or move your computer? I think it's coming from your end.
How about that?
It went away for a minute and then came back.
Let me see.
Sounds like a modem.
Yeah.
Take this here. I have various gadgets in the room that I've made, some of which may tend to attract or... how's that?
It's still there. It sounds just like a modem.
It does. It sounds just like we're trying to make plants grow.
Yeah, I'm Wi-Fi to a modem that's at the other end of the submarine.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Are you sure it's not you, Joel?
I'm positive.
There, it's gone. Oh, there it's back.
It's all good, Doc. It's all good.
Is it gone or it's still there?
It was gone for a little bit. Now it's back. Oh well.
Huh. Well.
Yeah, we can live with it.
Yeah.
So okay. Just so the audience knows, Billy Meier's had tons of photographs. They all seem too clear to be true.
Yeah.
And so you're saying in all of your analysis, they're real, correct?
No, a hoax.
No, they're hoax or they're real?
There's no evidence of a hoax.
Oh, okay. No evidence of a hoax, but you're still not sure they're real?
No. I can only shift over to what else can they be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can it be? It can be an alien spacecraft. It can be a large object made by a covert operation psychological warfare study group that play tricks on humans and see how they will react to extraterrestrials.
That's just as fantastic as they're real.
How can a one-armed guy with an Instamatic camera, that's what he has. His film is an Instamatic camera with a flash cube, the kind that you cock, the little flash cube.
Yep.
You need that for the daytime. But that's his camera. And he uses film cartridges, and he rides his bicycle in Hinderschmidt Rudy, population like 906 or whatever, to the post office that takes his film and sends it to the other post office in Zurich, where they process the film and send it back, and Billy comes and picks it up.
So you're trying to tell us that Billy might be a little low tech, is what you're saying.
Low tech. He rides a moped and a bicycle out to the location where he takes the pictures in it, and many of the pictures he shoots the whole roll, click, 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 as 2 or 3 flying machines are flying across the horizon.
Jeez. I don't know what to say to that. I mean, that's just.
I know, and that's the story. And yet there are people that have come to believe, the naysayers, who say that because it could be done with scale models, therefore it was. And he's got a whole team with him that are trying to fake the metal samples. The metal samples were done by 3 reputable places, including Marcel Vogel, who was the chief materials, one of, or the chief material scientist at IBM lab in San Jose. And he did a couple weeks of analysis on the metals and found things that were impossible in his report. You can look up Marcel Vogel, Billy Meier, metals, and it's online. It's on YouTube. His report from 30 years ago. It's fascinating. It's yet another case that, to me, is better than 50-50 true. What can happen to humans when they have extremely exciting circumstances like this?
Wow. Yeah, I always thought Billy's stuff was. I mean, I thought for sure you'd come out and say Billy's stuff was not factual, just because the way it looks. But you must have been just as blown away as I was, or am now, when you came to the conclusion that it was not, at least to your best guess or your best examination, not a blatant hoax.
Right. There was not
and so there was no way they were models, correct, Jim?
No, they were large objects.
They were, okay.
Over 20 feet.
Yep, it's fascinating because, his story to this day still holds water.
Yeah. And other contactee cases I've studied also, and the coincidences in other cases where they say that they're dealing with humanoids or human-looking people from the Pleiades, or Subaru, as it's called, the Orient, the same constellation, or Hathor, as that's called to the Egyptians. The Greeks called it the Pleiades.
Yeah.
But there are cultures thousands of miles apart, separated by thousands of years or hundreds of years, that say they point up at that constellation, and that's where they say that the extraterrestrials say that they come from.
Is Billy Meier still producing new photographs?
I haven't followed him on a moment-to-moment basis for a while. So he was as of 4 or 5 years ago. I don't know about right now. I'm going to do plug in my microphone and I hope I...
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Let's see if we can get rid of that sound.
Okay. How's that?
Worse. Oh.
Worse?
That's worse. Why don't you just not use any microphone, just your internal mic? That might be best. Something's really...
Yeah, so definitely.
It's definitely
by the way, just to fill you in, I am on Billy's website right now.
Okay.
He has a website, and it's the FIGU. In that language. I did find an English translation of his website, And he is currently still researching and still very much into it. Very much still doing things. So
Question is, though, is he taking new photographs?
I'm looking for that right now. Yeah, UFO photographs, films, and sounds. Nothing. I don't see anything new. Nothing that looks like it would be new on his website. So he might be just featuring what he'd taken back then, and there does not seem to be anything new on the website. I see right now.
In some ways, that adds to his credibility.
Yeah.
I'm going to unplug my computer and walk into another room.
Sure. So, but yeah, that Billy Meier case, that's an interesting one, Doug. It's been for years an interesting one. You know.
How's the sound now?
Go ahead and talk, because it only happens when you talk, Jim.
Really? Okay.
Every time you talk, it goes into modem mode.
It's lessened a bit. We'll make it through.
Yes. And we'll continue. It isn't. I don't think we'll listen.
Overpowering.
I don't think we'll lose any listeners.
I'm looking for where the microphone is on here.
But anyhow, yeah, I mean, you know, that's amazing. And tell us about your work with the Phoenix Lights, Jim.
It happened in my own backyard, so I got a lot of calls the following day.
Mm-hmm.
And from the TV stations and radio stations. What did I know about it? Had I seen it? So there was a lot of reports that night, and they began to pile up the next day. So we had enough room at our facility to have open meetings.
Mm-hmm.
Stand by just a second. I've got
Sure.
my associate talking to me. For me to power down from this and to power that up and load that up and to do this is unrealistic. Okay. Yeah, thank you for thinking of that. For those of you home listening, I do have a partner that had a sidebar, and we talked about a possible solution. That's what that was.
Gotcha. That's okay. That's okay. We'll make it through. We only have a half hour left. Yeah, so the Phoenix Lights, of course, are one of the most famous cases ever.
Yeah, March 13th, 1997. Reports collected over a few days afterwards makes a timeline that begins at about 8:30 in the northwestern part of the state, and an array of lights in a giant V formation flies diagonally across the state, right through the center of town, center of Phoenix, and goes down to Tucson, makes a U-turn and flies diagonally back up. This time goes through the south side of Phoenix, and then out and directly over Luke Air Force Base, giant military facility on the eastern side of Phoenix, witnessed by even a truck driver that was unloading cement there at the runway, Bill Griner, that saw jets take off, fly directly, looping, go up, and that it was immediately overhead of over the top of the Air Force Base, kind of hovering for a few minutes, and then accelerated and went out, headed north and went out the northwest corner of the state, leaving at approximately 10:30. So there you go, a 2-hour parade.
Jeez.
8:30 gets to Tucson at 9:30, gets back up through Phoenix at about 10 o'clock and leaves the state at about 10:30.
Mm-hmm.
Number of witnesses by the same statistical analysis that's used to do television ratings? How does the analysis work? How many people do you have to have talked to map that onto the entire population?
Right.
That means that approximately 10,000 people saw it.
Socks are the #1 most requested item at homeless shelters. Underwear second, and shirts are third. At Bombas, socks were first, made with comfortable details for everyday wearing. Then underwear, and shirts too, all designed to perfectly fit. At Bombas, every item you purchase means you're donating an essential clothing item to someone in need. One comfortable clothing item for you, one donated to someone in need. Bombas, comfort for all. Get 20% off your purchase at bombas.com/comfy.
Okay, guys, we gotta put our trays up for takeoff.
Where's Dad?
Oh, he's in the back. We could only get 3 seats together.
Daddy has my pillow.
Okay, well, we'll get it later. Can you not put your feet up, please?
Why aren't we going?
I'm not sure, honey. We must be in line for takeoff.
Like security?
Well, that was a different line.
I have to go.
We just sat down.
But I have to go.
The seatbelt sign's on.
Why aren't we moving?
Hey, no picking.
We're just 15th in line for takeoff.
Son of a...
Don't go there. Go on a real vacation. Go RVing.
And like Woodstock, there's now probably 100,000 that are claiming that they saw it.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
It's about, at least over 500 people that came to our facility in the 3 different town hall meetings that we had. In my in the back of Village Labs, our supercomputer audio video service bureau building. I had a big theater in the back, and we filled it up with witnesses. And let's see who was there. Current Affair, back in the early days when Bill O'Reilly was the host during the Phoenix Lights. It was Bill O'Reilly that was reporting the Phoenix Lights on Current Affair.
Really? Interesting.
A couple of other shows that were there, and would a good opportunity to interview a number of witnesses, and 5 different people shot videotape from different positions all over the valley. So we analyzed the videotape, and of course there were witnesses that said that they saw airplanes flying in formation, and people came out of the woodwork to discredit it. It was flares dropped by the Maryland National Guard. There were other claims that were made that did not fit with the analysis that we had done of what was the composition of the lights that had been videotaped, and a process called color spectrum analysis.
Mm-hmm.
Like analyzing a sound to get the frequency spectrum, bass, mids, and highs. Lights have that in brightness and color, called a histogram. So we analyzed and did that, and to our satisfaction, those lights were not flares for many reasons. The way that they came on, the steadiness, their color pattern, but the general news population was convinced that they were flares, and in part by the investigators from MUFON. The investigators, as usual, MUFON were mad because they weren't the chief investigators. So MUFON position frequently is, and there's a lot of good people at MUFON, but there's also people that if it's not theirs, they'll discredit it. Not for any scientific or professional reasons at all. So we had that to deal with. In the end, a lot of documentaries were made about it. A lot of people saw it. And all over the world to this day, when big sightings happen, people compare it to the Phoenix Lights.
Yeah.
So there was some credibility worthwhile that came out of it.
What was there a certain temperature of the lights? Like, was it closer to daylight or tungsten?
Yeah, because we're dealing with videotape, we can't get accurate color temperature on videotape. One of the witnesses did shoot 35 millimeter film, so I was able to do a different kind of analysis. So color temperature aside, we would go to color. the wavelength, because what people would say that they saw and what the camera saw gives us some idea about the real color temperature, although that can't be recorded, so to say, on video, hyperspectrally, it can't. But people would report seeing bright white, that then would become amber. But on the videotapes, it was always bluish white, white only, no amber.
Okay. So it was closer to sunlight.
Yeah.
Okay. Really interesting. Was it the Phoenix thing that got you to go, UFOs are real? I mean, these are not our craft, or was it before that?
It was before then. It was about 20 years before that.
Okay.
I was in a car coming back from Santa Monica. I was wintering again. Phoenix is in November, wintering in Phoenix. A guy from Phoenix I'd met a year or two before came to the Ambrosia show that we did in Santa Monica, November, 2 nights before Thanksgiving, and hooked up with us, came visited backstage and said were we going to Phoenix for the winter? And I said, yeah, we all were. People be coming in on Thursday and Friday. He said, well, he was leaving tonight. Did I want to ride? Did I want to ride? That was change in my fate, because riding in the car with Michael Tanner, Santa Monica, coming into Phoenix, arriving at about 6:30 in the morning. We're headed straight into the east, coming right up in front of us is the sun coming up. The sun had been up maybe 5 or 10 minutes only, and Michael shakes me and wakes me up, says, Jim, wake up, look at that. And I wake up drowsily, and he's pulled the car over to the side of the road and is pointing up through the dashboard at directly overhead of us is a thing brighter than the sun.
Jeez.
Woke me up. Did I want to ride to Phoenix? So, woke me up, and it's so bright. And I'm just waking up. I got to hold my hand over my eyes, and as I'm looking at it, it gets a tail on it. As it's coming towards us, and I can see it then. It's a hot dog shape, a cylinder shape, and it comes directly overhead. Takes about a minute to do that, and by that time it's standing on end, and I can see it like a totem pole at maybe 10,000 feet only up in the air, and then it turned on its side in an instant, like boom, it just fell down, and it looked like a blimp up there, like 25 suns all lined up, brighter than the sun. And it was so bright and so hot that I had to open the car door in order to breathe and get some air, and I passed out and fell out of the car.
Jeez.
And about sometime later, couple hours, I woke up laying on the pavement, feeling around where I was, and Michael was also on the pavement. Here, cars whizzing by. The pavement's beginning to get hot, and I'm hot. And we went to Maryvale Hospital. I'll jump ahead. I had burns on my, sun lamp burns on my hands and face, and went to Maryvale Hospital. About another, we drove painfully to a truck stop down near Tonopah, Arizona, and found someone who would drive us another 5-10 miles to the Maryvale Hospital, a small hospital out there, where we were treated for, quote, exposure, as it was called. sunlight.
Jeez, so you were burned by the lights.
So this is similar to the case that happened, is it Tennessee or Alabama? Do you remember the case where the people got burnt? Two ladies and a young man were burnt.
Yeah, I don't know of that, but I should know of that.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah, okay. And about 2 years later, driving in from another California trip with a UFO investigator named Wendell Stevens. We were out. In fact, we had come from one of our people we had gone to see was Bruce De Palma, and we were coming back from a California trip of a week or so, and dark outside, keeping our eye on the gas gauge. Can we going to make it to a gas station? What time is it? What's happening? And all of a sudden, I see, and then he sees this giant lit up thing that we go, oh, you know what? They're working on the power plant over there. That must be that they're starting to light up the power plant at night, the nuclear power plant. And, I've never talked about this on the radio before. I've talked about it once in one of my lectures. It lit up a whole lot and then either turned off or flew away, or was a power plant, or was an optical illusion or something. But it was, whatever it was, I don't know what it was, but it had such a tremendous impact on me that it was something bigger than life, bigger than my life, bigger than something I could explain real quick. And I want to be able to explain things right away.
Sure.
And it just captured my consciousness.
Wow. I mean, that's insane, Jim. The case that's so similar is it's called the Cash Landrum case.
Oh, yeah, the Cash Landrum case. Yeah. Michael Linderman investigated that case. He told me about that. Yeah.
I mean, so similar.
Yeah.
So were your burns just sunburns, or were they radiation burns?
Yeah.
Well,
really.
They at the hospital said, because we weren't really explaining what we saw, that it would be better for us to explain. The car pulled over and we were watching the sun up, and we must have fallen asleep from carbon monoxide, because we hadn't talked about it between ourselves before we went there.
Yeah.
What had happened.
But the point is that you said the cabin of the car heated up to the point you had to roll the windows down to
It's
get
like
air.
an oven.
Right.
Yeah.
So that tells you a lot. That tells you for sure it wasn't carbon dioxide.
Yeah, within a minute. And from then on, I was touched. I was more interested in things scientific. I understood them. I was smarter.
So it changed you in a big way.
Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah, well, that's the thing, Jim. When I first, you had sent me a friend request, and I'm like, I see your name, and I'm like, oh, no way. That guy's so brilliant. I got so excited when you sent that.
I had moved, and my email address had changed because there was no Cox where I had moved, so I couldn't get my password changed, and I was locked out of Facebook for 4 or 5 years.
Oh my gosh.
So a guy that I knew went to work for Facebook as an engineer, and he helped me change my password and phone number so I could get back in, and I had an avalanche, thousands of emails and requests and pictures and things. And it would make recommendations for me and say, you ought to meet this guy, you ought to meet this guy.
Yeah.
And I was not any more than just a rookie on going away from Facebook for 5 years. I was a LinkedIn user. So about 10 minutes a day, a couple times a day, I'd go and answer the friend requests or lead and follow. And I don't even know what I'm leading. I mean, if there's all these people that are following, what am I doing? Okay, are these footsteps in the snow? Am I supposed to dance or something? What does this mean? So I just would go through and go, oh yeah, okay, it's saying I should. Facebook told me that I should like you, so I went, oh, okay, Facebook is smart. So that's why I poked you or friend requested or whatever, because you were friends with somebody that I knew that Facebook thought that I should click you. So I did.
Funny how that works.
I got excited.
Yeah,
well, I remember seeing you in TV shows, and it would show you in front of banks of computers.
Yeah, that was my place. Banks of computers. Yeah, Village Labs.
Insane. Just insane. So, did you ever get to meet some of the more celebrity notables that had seen the Phoenix Lights? The governor, what was it?
Kurt Russell? Yeah.
Well, no. I did not talk to Kurt Russell about it, although a longtime business partner of mine, Lori Bozarth, is their neighbor, and she told me that Kurt and Goldie had told her years and years ago, right after the Phoenix Lights, that he was up and had seen it that night. But I don't really go after meeting people.
Sure.
If I meet them, I do. But I've met hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of UFO investigators and witnesses and people over the years. I haven't really kept a log book of them, but I'm not really in that these days. I'm working on other things, and I do things. I give lectures and do analysis for investigators that are not out there in the regular world of MUFON and that.
Okay.
That kind of investigation. I have friends in. I have friends in high and low places.
Well, Jim, I got to ask you. I mean, we've talked about UFOs, but I know that you also do a lot of used to do a lot of photographic analysis of other paranormal. Have you ever seen a ghost photo that held water?
Yeah, and I believe I have seen ghosts a number of times. And actually, I think I've seen them more often than I've seen ghost photographs. And I understand ghost photographs. I lived in a house that twice that had ghosts coming and going. And it took a while to realize that sometimes they can't see us.
Yeah.
And I also began to understand about interdimensional place hopping, and that extraterrestrials coming here, they may or may not hit us. They may hit the dimension where ghosts and avatars are. Or they may come to us and not get it, that there's another dimension of beings here living at the same time, because maybe in their dimension there's not a life after death.
Yeah.
And over the years, actually, I began to see our opportunity for life after death as one of the reasons why we are so interesting to extraterrestrials.
That's interesting.
That is interesting. So you believe that there is a life after death? I do as well.
I believe that there's something else, either an intelligence or a spirit or a being, but there's something more, because felt it. I've experienced
Mm-hmm.
it. I can just feel it. And it seems to me that the fact that extraterrestrials are telepathic with the number of contactees that I've talked to, they always talk about being embarrassed that the extraterrestrials were looking into their soul and were looking into things that they had done that they would be embarrassed about. And it rang true for me that, whoa, they're all telepathic with each other. Therefore, they cannot make a mistake and then analyze how to improve themselves and go on and better their spiritual or emotional being, because everybody knows all of their states of consciousness. And we can go from being a pimp, not that being a pimp's all that bad, from being a pimp to an avatar in one lifetime. That we could grow emotionally and spiritually in one lifetime by making mistakes, analyzing it, and improving ourselves. And that is the element that they're trying to figure out about the humans, that we have free will and no telepathy. And that we work as individuals in order to improve our lot in life. And that fascinates them. All right, then somebody will come here, and there's maybe one or two races that are the policemen. They run the turnstile. Okay, you're coming from this galaxy and you want to see the beings that are here. Here's the rules. You get to pick 3 in Argentina. You get them for 4 days, and then you got to put them back, and don't change them. Don't mess with them. And it fits into the larger picture of, well, what are they doing here? Oh, I see. There is no government cover-up. There's an extraterrestrial cover-up. They're the ones that are not revealing that they come here. Bigfoot, just because somebody proved with photographs, etc., Bigfoot doesn't mean Bigfoot would come reveal himself and go on the White House lawn and say, you got me, here I am. Same as extraterrestrials and others. There's something going on where our privacy and our free will and our ability to develop on our own is part of what they're trying to get. We may be more advanced than them. They may merely just know how to fly a spaceship around. That doesn't mean that they're advanced in consciousness.
Sure.
These are some of the most interesting words I've heard. Amazing. That's an amazing, makes sense. Makes total sense.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. That's you've put a lot of thought into that, Jim.
I have. I thought about it 4 times. Yes.
That's it is. It's just, it's a very different take that the cover up is caused by the aliens.
Right. That they're wanting us to develop on our own, and that we haven't run our course yet.
Yeah.
And that they're not going to cook us and eat us, and they're not going to save us. And that some of the people in the government and other world governments know this. They know it just like this, that the extraterrestrials want us to develop and be good to each other and ourselves. And that the explanation of them coming here is not part of our destiny. We are our destiny.
So they're just observers.
They're just observers.
Yeah.
And for people that they can keep inside the rules of not changing destiny or the prime directive, going backwards and forwards in time and not changing things might be true. In fact, Bob Short was the channel, the reverend that affected both Gene Roddenberry and George Lucas in their the channelings and things that he did. And they when George, according to the letters, from that they wrote to Bob Short. Thank you, Bob, for what you taught us and things that you showed us and helped me to go on and understand how to create Star Trek. Thanks, Bob. Letters up on Bob's wall, which he didn't display them proudly, but he wasn't a braggart. His wife Shirley is still alive. She went through all that with him back when he was bringing messages. One of the early true channels, I believe, where some of them have a spiritual potential also, and maybe overlap into our zone. It's all kind of trying to figure out a Rubik's cube. There's a lot to it, and I guess if you get it, you get, oh, okay, that's it. We can die now. Okay, we got it.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
So I've got two questions kind of combined. Do you think we're being visited by a ton of different, planets, races, whatever you want to call them? And do you think that the abductions are, merely happening over and over by the same race, or do you think it's a whole bunch of different beings that are abducting us?
That's a very good question, and something I do ponder myself. And I believe that there are a couple of races that we look like them and vice versa, that we're part of the same genetic tree, the same Adam's rib genetic engineering.
Okay.
That they look after us, and they look after who can come in and learn about us and learn from us. And I'd say there's hundreds of races that have come here, and that they are given rules of confidentiality and hiding and secrecy and whatever it would be. And in order to get what it would be like, I recommend that one go into a state of mind where you kind of pretend that that's true and that you're one of them, or you're the guardians, or you're the visitors, and what the rules might be. Well, looking at the way things already are, say, in order for things to be like this, what would the rules have to be, and why would someone make rules like that?
Yeah.
It helps us figure out some of the human dynamics and mysteries. I love Monster Quest, by the way. It's one of my guilty pleasures to see the things that are out there that are just phenomenal, that we're just unaware of, that it's going on there, and to map that into other circumstances throughout the galaxy. It's a really helpful runestone in order to start one's own quest into unsolved mysteries. And I think that we grow from that in thinking that what if we do have all this potential, and that the extraterrestrials are trying to get it about why, if we've got all this potential for creativity and to grow spiritually, etc., we picked greed and avarice and stealing and killing instead. Poor little humans.
I hear you.
Yeah, we are quite a bunch, aren't we?
Yeah, I know.
I mean, it's just amazing. We have the nicest people. I mean, they're like angels and helpful and loving, and we have the most rotten, cruel, evil people.
Runs the gamut.
It just really does, and and the way we all look is so different. And the way we act and our personalities and everything. We really are individuals.
Yeah,
we are. Yeah,
I love the way you think, Jim.
Well,
I love your brain. You got a great brain.
Thank you. It came free with the wrapper.
Well, unfortunately, we're out of time, Jim. I mean, gosh, this hour and a half has just really flown by, and for those that like to reach out to you, do you have any websites or anything you'd like to put out there?
I have my own email that people write me. I usually write back. Takes me maybe 100 hours or so to respond, but I do get back to people. And if they go to your website, on my bio there is my email at the bottom. But I'll say it right now. It's pretty easy. It's a contraction of my name. Instead of Jim Dilettoso, it's Jim Toso 777. That's
Gotcha.
JIMTOSO 777 at gmail. Okay, .com.
Imagine another Gmail address.
Yeah, another Gmail address. I was Toso at Cox for over 10 years, and I was Jim at Village Labs since the beginning of the internet till way later. And I've only had three email addresses, and I've had a number of websites. But these days, my website, there's other people that are doing agriculture and plants too, and a couple of them have gone off and started companies by just changing one letter in my company name and building a website that's even better than mine.
Oh, boy.
Michael Perazzo has a beautiful, I don't even know if he knows how to do anything with sonication. He's got a beautiful website. His girlfriend used to come and visit us in the 90s and got a lot of paperwork and concepts from us. And now they're either doing it too, God bless them, everybody should be doing sound and plants, or they're just making it up to sell investors. I don't know. Whatever it is.
There you go. So, well, unfortunately, like I said, we're out of time, and so we got to get out of here, Doug. Boy, that was a really interesting 2 hours, though, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
A lot of fun. Jim Dilettoso, everybody. Look him up, email him up. You got questions, he's got answers. Again, Jim, thank you so much for coming in, sitting in with us and talking. It's been a lot of fun.
Went by real quick.
It did. Till next time, guys. Take care of each other, love each other. Keep searching for in the skies. You just never know. Maybe you'll be the one to crack the case.
Yeah.
Geico presents Monster Counseling.
Dracula, tell me how you're feeling.
No one understands how lonely it is. No one will even let me into their house. I knock and I knock, but they ignore me.
Uh-huh. What else?
I look in the mirror and I don't even see myself anymore.
If you don't see yourself clearly, can you really expect others to?
I'm having a breakthrough.
It's not easy to be a vampire, but with Geico, it's super easy to switch and save hundreds on your car insurance.
You need a work schedule that fits your life, and Amazon has shifts that help you make the best use of your time. Whether you're a night owl, early bird, weekend warrior, or somewhere in between, discover the benefits of thinking outside the 9 to 5. You decide whether to seize the day or the night so you can get back to what matters most. Go to Amazon.com/shifts to learn more. That's Amazon.com/SHIFTS. Amazon is an equal opportunity employer.